There is a moment I have witnessed more than once in my years as a priest, and it never stops affecting me. A woman comes to see me. She is not in crisis. She is not angry at God. She is just quietly carrying something. And after a few minutes of conversation, she looks down at her hands and says the same thing almost word for word every time. Father, I keep thinking about my mother. I keep dreaming about her. Sometimes I feel like she's right there in the room with me. I know it probably sounds strange. I know it's probably just grief. But I can't shake the feeling that she needs something from me. And then she looks up, waiting for me to tell her she's imagining it. I never do. Because in over 40 years of walking alongside the grieving, the dying, and the faithful, I have come to believe, with a certainty I could not have had as a young priest, that what these women are experiencing is not imagination. It is communication. I'm Father David. I've spent the better part of my life in the space between the living and the dead, at bedsides, at gravesides, in hospital corridors at 3 a.m. And what I've seen in those places has not made me doubt what the Church teaches about the souls who have left this world. It has made me believe it more deeply than I ever thought possible. Today I want to share something with you that I have only spoken about in small, quiet rooms, with families who are ready to hear it. 7 signs that a soul in purgatory may be reaching out to you, asking for your prayers, asking for your help, because they cannot complete their journey without it, and you may be the only one still praying for them. Before we go any further, I want you to understand something that changed the way I pray for the dead. In the book of 2 Maccabees, chapter 12, verse 46, there is a line that every Catholic knows, but very few have truly sat with. It says this: "It is therefore a holy and wholesome thought to pray for the dead, that they may be loosed from sins." Now, when I was a young seminarian, I read that verse as a piece of doctrine, a teaching, something to be filed away. It was not until I was 31 years old, sitting beside the bed of a dying man named George, a veteran, a quiet man, someone who had not been to confession in decades, that the verse became something else entirely. It became personal. George grabbed my hand 2 days before he died and said, "Father, is it too late for me?" I told him it was not. He died on a Thursday morning just after dawn, and for reasons I cannot fully explain, I prayed for George every single day for the next 6 months, not out of obligation, out of something that felt like urgency, like someone was tugging at my sleeve, reminding me not to forget him. That feeling, that persistent, unexplainable pull toward a soul, was the first sign I ever recognized. And it was years before I understood what it meant. The Church has always taught, and I have lived long enough to know in my bones, that purgatory is not a place of punishment. It is a place of completion, of purification. The souls there are saved. They are not lost, but they are being made ready for the fullness of God's presence. And in that process, they remain connected to us, bound to us by love. Saint Catherine of Genoa, who wrote more beautifully about purgatory than almost any other mystic in the history of the Church, described the souls there as being simultaneously in the greatest joy and the greatest longing they have ever known. Joy because they are certain of God, longing because they cannot yet see Him face to face, and in that longing they turn to us. Stay with me, because what I am about to share with you in the next few minutes, these 7 signs, I believe will change the way you pray, and it may change the way you grieve. The first sign is the one most people dismiss without a second thought, but once I explain what is actually happening spiritually, you will never look at it the same way again. Let me tell you about the first sign, because I want you to really hear this. It is the one that comes to almost everyone who has lost someone they love. And almost everyone I have ever met has talked themselves out of it before they allowed themselves to believe it was real. The first sign is this: you think about them constantly, and it doesn't feel like ordinary grief. Now, I know what you're thinking. Father, of course I think about them. I lost someone I loved. That's just grief. And yes, grief does that. Grief fills the mind. But there is a difference, and once I name it, you will recognize it immediately. Ordinary grief comes in waves. It rises and falls. It is connected to memories, a photograph, a song, the smell of something they used to cook. It has a reason. But this is different. This arrives without warning. In the middle of a task you've done 100 times. You are washing dishes, or sitting in the pew before Mass begins, or lying in the dark trying to sleep. And suddenly, with no trigger you can identify, that person is simply there in your mind. Not a memory, a presence, an almost wordless insistence. I have heard this described dozens of times. A woman named Patricia told me, about 8 months after her husband Raymond passed, that she would wake up at precisely 2:30 in the morning, not gradually, not from a dream, but completely alert, as if someone had said her name. And Raymond would be the first thought in her mind every single time. I started praying for him in those moments, she told me. It was the only thing that felt right. She was already doing exactly what the church teaches. She just didn't know why. The second sign, and this one surprises people, is coldness. Not metaphorical coldness, physical coldness. A drop in temperature in a specific room at a specific moment that has no rational explanation. A chill that passes through you and is gone. I want to be careful here because I am not asking you to chase after spiritual phenomena or to interpret every cold draft as a message from beyond. That is not what I am saying. But I have spoken with enough faithful, grounded, sensible women who are not prone to imagination or spiritual excess, who described exactly this experience in the weeks or months following a loss. The theological tradition is careful about this, and so am I. What I will say is this: the Church has never denied that God, in His mercy, may permit certain communications between the living and the dead. St. Thomas Aquinas himself wrote that such things were possible under divine providence. And I have been in enough rooms over enough decades to know that sometimes what cannot be explained by the natural world is simply not of the natural world. There is a woman I will call Helen. She lost her son, her youngest, 34 years old, to a sudden illness. 3 weeks after the funeral, she was sitting in his old bedroom, holding his rosary, when she felt it. A cold that moved through the room like a breath. She said she felt in that moment an overwhelming compulsion to pray, not for herself, but for him. She called me the next morning, and I told her what I am telling you now. Pray. Don't question it. Pray. The third sign is one that the saints have written about for centuries, and it is perhaps the most intimate of all: dreams. But not every dream. There is a very specific kind of dream, and again, you will know it when I describe it, because if you have had one, you have never forgotten it. It is not a dream that fades when you wake. It is not a dream full of the strange, shifting logic of the sleeping mind. It is vivid. It is ordered. The person appears to you not as they were in illness or old age, but luminous, peaceful, sometimes unable to speak, sometimes looking at you with an expression that you can only describe as a plea. St. John Bosco had such dreams about souls in purgatory. He wrote about them with remarkable specificity, the expressions, the settings, the silent communications. He did not dismiss them. He woke from them and prayed. I had a dream like this once, about a priest I had known for many years, a good man, a faithful man, who had died suddenly. In the dream, he stood at the edge of a great light. He did not speak. He only looked at me. And when I woke, I went immediately to my knees. I prayed 3 rosaries for him before the sun came up. I don't know why 3. I only knew it was not enough to pray once and turn over and go back to sleep. There are 4 more signs I need to share with you. And the ones that remain, I believe, are the ones that carry the deepest spiritual weight of everything we are discussing today. The 4th sign is one I have never heard preached from a pulpit, but I believe it belongs there. It is this: an unexplained urgency to visit a grave, attend a mass, or light a candle, with no occasion to justify it. Not on an anniversary, not on a birthday, not prompted by a conversation or a photograph, simply a pull, sudden, specific, and persistent, that something needs to be done for that person, today, not tomorrow, today. I want you to understand what may actually be happening in those moments. There is a passage in the book of Revelation, chapter 8, verses 3 and 4, that I have returned to more times than I can count in my years of praying for the dead. The angel stands before the altar of God, and the smoke of incense rises with the prayers of the saints. The text says those prayers ascend before God from the angel's hand. I used to picture that image as something distant, something celestial and remote, belonging to another world entirely. But I no longer see it that way. I now believe that image describes something that is happening right now, in real time, as you and I speak. Your prayers for the dead are not disappearing into silence. They are being carried. They are arriving somewhere. And if that is true, if prayer for a soul in purgatory has real, active, arriving power, then it follows that a soul in urgent need of those prayers might, under God's providence, find a way to make that urgency felt. I knew a man named Arthur, retired school teacher, deeply faithful, deeply quiet. He came to see me one afternoon looking slightly embarrassed, the way men of his generation get when they feel they are about to say something that sounds irrational. He told me he had driven 40 minutes to the cemetery that morning without quite knowing why. He had not planned it. He simply found himself in the car, driving. He stood at his wife's grave for almost an hour, praying every prayer he knew. I felt like she needed it, he said. I know that sounds foolish. I told him it was one of the most spiritually intelligent things I had ever heard a man describe. The 5th sign is subtle. It is the one that hides in plain sight. Objects that belong to the deceased appearing in unexpected places. Not dramatically, not in ways that defy physics. Simply a rosary found in a drawer you are certain you never opened. A holy card on the floor of a room where no one has been. A photograph face up on a shelf where you are certain it was face down. I am not asking you to become superstitious. I am asking you to remain open. There is a long and sober tradition within the Church of God, using the ordinary and the physical to speak to hearts that would not otherwise slow down enough to listen. When these things happen, pray. That is always the answer. Pray, and trust that the impulse to pray was not accidental. The 6th sign is one that St. Faustina Kowalska wrote about in her diary with striking clarity. It is an interior sorrow, a heaviness that settles on you with no external cause. Not depression, not anxiety, something older and quieter than either of those. A weight that lifts, inexplicably, the moment you begin to pray for the dead. Saint Faustina describes souls in purgatory visiting her with exactly this quality of communication. Not words, not visions, but a pressing spiritual heaviness that resolved itself in intercession. She wrote that Jesus himself had asked her to pray for the souls in purgatory with particular tenderness because they could no longer pray for themselves. That line has never left me. They can no longer pray for themselves. Whatever you feel in your hands, in your rosary beads, in your knees on the cold floor of a church, they cannot do that anymore. You can. And that is not a small thing. That is an extraordinary gift and an extraordinary responsibility given to you precisely because you are still here. The seventh sign, the last, is the one that brings everything together. It is peace. A sudden, specific, unearned peace, arriving after a period of intense prayer for a particular soul. Not the relief of distraction, not the comfort of time passing. A peace that is given, not achieved. The kind that St. Paul describes in his letter to the Philippians. The peace that surpasses all understanding. The kind that tells you without words that something has shifted, that your prayer was received, that the soul you have been carrying in your heart has moved, somehow, closer to the light. I have felt this. I have felt it kneeling in a cold chapel at 5 a.m, praying for a woman I buried the week before. A woman whose family told me she had lived with tremendous guilt for most of her life. I prayed the Rosary for her, and somewhere in the 4th decade, something changed in the room. I cannot describe it more precisely than that. The air changed, and I knew, the way you know things that cannot be proven but are nevertheless true, that she was being held. If you have ever felt that peace after praying for someone you have lost, receive it. It is not wishful thinking. It is the Church triumphant, touching the Church suffering, and you, here, on your knees, in your ordinary life, are the bridge between them. I want to take a moment before we close, because I don't want you to leave this conversation carrying something heavy without also carrying something that can hold it. You came here today, I suspect, because someone has been on your mind, someone you loved, someone you buried or sat beside as they left, or perhaps someone you lost so suddenly that you never had the chance to say everything you needed to say. And somewhere in the back of your heart, maybe a place you don't talk about, even with the people closest to you, there has been this quiet, persistent question. Are they all right? Can they still hear me? Does what I do here still matter to them? I want to answer that question as directly as I know how. Yes, what you do here still matters, profoundly, more than you know. The 7 signs we've walked through today, the sleepless urgency at 2 a.m, the coldness that moves through a room like a breath, the dream that stays with you for years, the pull toward a grave on an ordinary Tuesday, the object found where it shouldn't be, the heaviness that lifts the moment you begin to pray, and the peace, that extraordinary unearned peace that arrives when a soul has been heard. These are not superstitions. They are not the inventions of grief. They are, I believe, the mercy of God made tangible. His way of keeping the bond of love intact across the boundary that separates this world from the next. The Church has always known this. For 2,000 years, the faithful have prayed for the dead. They have offered masses, lit candles, prayed rosaries, fasted, made sacrifices. not out of fear, but out of love. Because love does not end at the grave. It cannot. St. Paul told us that in his first letter to the Corinthians, chapter 13, that love never fails, not weakens, not fades, never fails. If that is true for us in our imperfection, how much more is it true for God, in whose love every soul that has ever lived continues to exist? Your prayers are not gestures. They are not rituals performed to make yourself feel better. They are real. They arrive somewhere. They do something. And the souls who receive them, your mother, your husband, your child, your friend, they know. They feel it. St. Catherine of Genoa wrote that a soul in purgatory, receiving prayers from the living, feels something like what a drowning man feels when someone throws him a rope. It reaches them. It changes their situation. It moves them forward. You are not helpless in the face of death. That is what I need you to carry out of this room today. You are not standing on one side of an impassable wall, hoping your love somehow gets through. You are an active participant in the salvation of souls you have loved. Every rosary, every Mass attended in their name, every morning offering made with them in your heart, every candle lit in a quiet church when no one else is watching, it all counts. It is all received. I have been a priest for a long time. I have buried more people than I care to count. I have held the hands of the dying, and I have stood at the graves of the young and the old, the faithful and the struggling, the ones who died at peace and the ones who died afraid. And if there is one thing, one single thing, that all of those years have pressed into me with absolute certainty, it is this. The love that moves between the living and the dead is one of the most sacred forces in the universe, and God built it that way on purpose. Don't let anyone tell you that your prayers for the dead are wasted. Don't let the noise of this world convince you that what cannot be seen cannot be real. You know better. You have always known better. And now, I hope, you know why. If what we've shared today has stirred something in you, if it has given a name to something you have felt but couldn't speak, then I want you to stay close. Every week I come here to share what 40 years in the priesthood has taught me about the things that matter most. The things most people are too busy or too afraid to talk about. Subscribe, and let's keep walking this road together, because there is so much more I want to tell you. And I believe God brought you here today for a reason. And before you go, allow me to pray over you. May God the Father, who holds every soul in his hands, grant you peace that reaches deeper than your grief. May the souls you carry in your heart find in your prayers a light that guides them home. And may you know, truly know, that you are never praying alone. Go in peace.